Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. I just wanted to make a quick little Q&A because there are a few questions that come up so frequently. So I thought it would make sense to just make a little mini video. So on this channel, we have followed the Harry and Meghan saga for the last few years together. We've also gone back to analyze some really big moments in their story and really significant turning points for them as a couple and for their public image and their relationship with various parties, the press, the public, the UK, and the royal family, of course. For example, we did the Oprah interview series, that scandalous interview. We went back and analyzed that. But many people want to know, why is there so much talk about Harry and Meghan on this channel that also talks about fashion and beauty? There is a good reason for it beyond just the interest or curiosity factor. I am the youngest of the family. Stay with me. And when I was little, a grandfatherly sort of figure told me that I had a really big advantage. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said that I get to watch my older siblings make their mistakes, and then I get to avoid those same mistakes because I have the advantage of observing and learning from what they do. That really stuck with me. And as I've grown, I continue to see the value in watching others, observing what they're doing and the outcomes that they get, and learning from the mistakes that they make. That allows us, the observers, the opportunity to view people like Harry and Meghan or other public figures who make egregious errors in the public eye. It allows us to watch that unfold through the lens of avoiding similar errors in fashion or styling, to relationship dynamics, to how we present ourselves in certain scenarios. It is relevant to all of us, just on a different scale. Obviously, public figures, it's on a really big scale. For us in normal life, it's on a much smaller scale, but it's still the same sort of vibe. The impressions that you're giving, the ways you're communicating, both with words and actual connection, but also in other ways, like you communicate through your clothes, through your grooming, through your styling, all of it. Coincidentally, Harry and Meghan just so happen to make a lot of mistakes. The reasons why are a completely different story, but they tend to be an excellent example or a good study in toxic traits, subpar styling, and a lack of etiquette, from which we can all gain a wealth of knowledge and learn from the mistakes or errors that they tend to make. Also, because I've been following the story along with you all for quite some time as it's unfolded, provide better context to their current news or statements or shenanigans or spins that they try to send out there. We watch them experiment and try to build a brand from the ashes of the bridges that they burned. We can see how it plays out with the big picture still in mind, the history of how this all began and what all has happened. In part because Harry and Meghan lied about a lot of things and continue to misconstrue or misrepresent the facts often, it is even more important for public figures who do that sort of a thing to have people who know the history and can point it out when needed. The contradictions that they make, for example. Oftentimes, a public figure will count on a population that is unfamiliar with the background story in order to get popularity boosts, in order to have new projects received better. And that's part of the problem with Meghan and Harry, is that they really stepped in it in a big way. And now there's lots and lots of people who remember the entire history of how things happened. And so every time they try to start a new venture or put a new spin on something, they get called out for lying or omitting certain facts. But people like myself and journalists and observers in general, while we can keep it in context and provide the history and the big picture and prevent that from being excluded from the current narratives, which is really important, at the same time, nobody can be an expert in every single celebrity and every single public figure or politician or public interest story or subject matter in general. Nobody can be an expert on all of it. So the Sussex saga just so happens to be one of several topics that I know more about, both out of curiosity and fascination, but also because of this job. At the same time, I enjoy discussing a variety of topics and will continue to expand the topics and subjects that we look at. The Sussex story is just one of those that we include here, and it does provide a plethora of examples of what not to do, which is valuable. Plus, they're royal adjacent, so it comes up pretty often. Another question I get a lot is, Every now and then somebody gets really stuck on the fact that I use Harold and the Meg as nicknames for the couple every now and then. They take issue with it. But it's meant to be lighthearted. Harry, whose name is actually Henry, claimed in his book Spare that Harold was a nickname that Prince William would use every now and then for Harry. So I use Harold occasionally for fun. And the Meg, well, that is a reference to the movies, The Meg and The Meg 2. Is there a third one yet? I don't think so. With Jason Statham. They're just kind of fun, cheesy action movies, just a good time. Just not serious, fun, good time. And I just thought that, well, it seemed a very lighthearted, not too serious nickname. And her name is actually Rachel Meghan Markle, if you didn't know. And I do want to clear this up. When it comes to the Sussexes, it is not an automatically critical angle. I am not just like, oh, if it's Harry and Meghan, it must be trash. It's just objectively what they put out is subpar content, subpar presentation, subpar results. It just is objectively. Typically, more often than not, Meghan is making errors in her outfits and her etiquette, and Harry is too a lot of the time. And their public statements are almost always full of bad PR choices. It just is. It is what it is. So it's not negative automatically. This channel is about analysis and critique and opinion, but it's not a negative tone just because. It's because objectively what they're doing is usually not the best approach. And they've developed a rather negative image for themselves, I think, by accident. I don't think they intended to, but by spending so many years complaining and dedicating so many years to airing grievances and violating people's privacy and being hypocritical, it has created a negative tone in the press about the Sussexes because they're usually complaining about stuff. And so we've been able to observe how those choices have negatively impacted their public image, and it's quite interesting to analyze. So the last question for today is, why do you discuss the royals at all? Well, I found Queen Elizabeth II to be a really wonderful public figure. As public figures go, I decided a long time ago she was probably the best public figure out there because she just seemed so kind. I appreciated her values. And she was a steady, consistent reassurance, it seemed. Like just her presence was a pleasant one, and I liked that about her. And when I learned more about Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and William, Prince of Wales, I came to see them as excellent role models as well. And although they're older than I had my babies around the same years that Catherine had hers, and so she came on my radar. And she is, in my opinion, one of very few well-rounded, genuinely good role models out there. I really respect her and William's approach to their roles, their privilege, and their family life. I respect her work with the arts and the early years tremendously, as well as William's work with Earthshot and homelessness. Plus, Princess Catherine has impeccable fashion sense, a really great public presence as well. And so that is a big factor in my interest with the royals and the royal adjacent is just appreciation for that. They oftentimes serve as examples of what to do. They set good examples for things and how to go about certain initiatives or projects in a good way, in the right sort of way, when it comes to public presence and public image. So they serve as the other side of the coin oftentimes, not just automatically to Harry and Meghan, like, oh, well, it's opposite or binary. No, it's just the proof is actually there. The evidence is there to back up that oftentimes the royal family, Prince William, Princess Catherine, their approach tends to be the more strategic and correct in terms of etiquette, styling, public presence, professionalism, public image, like press relations, all of it, while Harry and Meghan tend to make a lot of mistakes. So it offers a sort of baseline of comparison as well. I often include a question or comment of the day to feature from one of you at the end of a video. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and maybe they'll be featured in an upcoming video. Thank you so much for joining me for this little short Q&A. I hope you have a happy day ahead and I will see you next time. Bye.